In Yakutia, where winter freezes the air itself at -71 degrees Celsius, survival is a daily battle. This is where Katerina has lived alone for decades, and where an unexpected cry from the frozen forest will change everything. Katerina steps outside her wooden cabin into the pre-dawn darkness. The cold slams into her face. Her breath crystallizes instantly. She pulls her headscarf tighter and begins walking toward the woodshed, her boots crunching through the icy crust of snow. But then she stops. A sound drifts through the forest, faint, desperate. A mewling cry unlike any animal she knows. She turns toward the sound and pushes deeper into the forest, pine branches heavy with snow brush against her shoulders. The crying grows louder, more urgent. She follows it through a thicket and finds a pit in the earth, half hidden by snowdrift. At the bottom, a tiny shape huddles against the frozen ground. Katerina kneels at the edge and peers down. A tiger cub stares back at her with wide golden eyes. The baby is no larger than a house cat, its orange and black striped fur crusted with ice. The cub shivers violently and lets out another pitiful cry. Katerina knows immediately this little one will not survive another hour in this cold. She lies flat on her stomach in the snow and reaches down. Her arm stretches until her shoulder burns. Her fingers close around the cub's scruff. The baby feels stiff, frozen. She pulls gently upward, lifting the cub from the pit. The moment she has the tiny tiger against her chest, Katerina runs. Her legs pump through the deep snow. Her lungs burn with frigid air. She bursts through her cabin door and kicks it shut. The warmth inside feels like stepping into another world. She carries the cub straight to the brick stove and kneels beside it. Katerina unwraps her headscarf with quick fingers. She uses the soft cotton fabric to rub the ice from the cub's fur, working in small circles. The baby lies motionless, eyes half closed. She wraps the cub in the headscarf and tucks the small bundle inside her coat, pressing it against her body. Then she sits in her rocking chair pulled close to the stove and holds the cub tightly. She rocks slowly back and forth. Minutes pass. An hour. She hums an old lullaby under her breath. Gradually, she feels movement against her ribs. The cub's breathing strengthens. A tiny paw pushes outward. Katerina opens her coat and looks down. The cub blinks up at her with bright eyes and makes a small chirping sound. Katerina sets the baby on her lap. The cub is a female, perhaps 8 weeks old, with oversized paws and perfect stripes. The little tiger sniffs at Katerina's hands and vest, exploring this new warm world. But the cub needs food. Katerina rises and goes to her wooden cupboard. She takes down a tin of condensed milk and pries open the lid with the tip of her knife. The metal scrapes and pops. She pours milk into a shallow ceramic bowl, then adds warm water from her kettle on the stove. She stirs the mixture with a wooden spoon. 3 slow circles. She sets the bowl on the floor. The cub wobbles across on unsteady legs and begins lapping eagerly. Milk dots her whiskers. Her small pink tongue works rapidly. Katerina watches and smiles. While the cub drinks, Katerina makes her own breakfast. She takes a loaf of dark bread from the cupboard and cuts 3 thick slices with her knife, each stroke creating a soft sawing sound. She holds each slice over the open stove flame with a long fork, turning it slowly until both sides turn golden brown. The bread crackles softly. She spreads each piece with a thin layer of precious butter from a small crock, the knife scraping and smoothing. From a cloth bundle, she unwraps salted fish and lays strips across the buttered bread. She eats standing at the counter, chewing slowly. The cub finishes her milk and begins exploring the cabin. The little tiger sniffs every corner, her nose working constantly. She investigates the legs of the table, the iron feet of the stove, the woven rug near the door. Her tail stands straight up. After eating, Katerina carries a wooden basin to the table and fills it with warm water from her kettle. She adds cold water from her bucket until the temperature feels right. She takes her mending from a basket, her dark skirt with its torn hem, and 2 wool socks with holes worn through the heels. She settles into her chair and threads a needle, licking the thread end and pushing it through the eye on the second try. She stitches the hem with small, even movements. Her needle pierces the fabric, pulls through, pierces again. The thread slides with a gentle whisper. She ties off the end with 3 tight knots and snips the excess with her scissors. Next come the socks. She weaves the needle back and forth across each hole, creating a tight patch of crossing threads. The cub, satisfied with her exploration, climbs into a basket of clean rags near the stove and curls into a ball. Within moments, she is asleep. The morning passes quietly. Katerina mends and listens to the wind rattle the shutters. She adds logs to the fire every hour, selecting pieces that will burn slowly. By midday, weak sunlight filters through the frosted windows. The cub wakes and prowls around, pouncing on Katerina's bootlace and batting at a walnut that rolls across the floor. For lunch, Katerina makes soup. She opens a glass jar of dried mushrooms and pours a handful into a pot. She adds water from her kettle. The liquid splashes and hisses against the hot iron. She takes a withered carrot from her root cellar, scrapes it clean with her knife, and chops it into small cubes on her wooden cutting board. Each chop makes a hollow talk sound. She adds the carrot to the pot, along with barley from a cloth sack and a pinch of coarse salt. She stirs everything together with her wooden spoon, scraping the bottom to prevent sticking. The soup simmers. Steam rises and fills the cabin with earthy aroma. After 20 minutes, Katerina ladles a portion into her bowl. She sits at her small table and eats, blowing on each spoonful before taking it into her mouth. The cub sits at her feet, looking up hopefully. Katerina tears off a piece of cooked carrot and offers it. The cub sniffs and bats it away, uninterested. After lunch, Katerina dresses for outdoor work. She wraps her headscarf, layers her coat, pulls on her mittens. She needs to check her snares and gather fresh snow for water. The cub follows her to the door, mewing. Katerina shakes her head and gently pushes the baby back inside. She slips out quickly and pulls the door shut. The forest is silent, except for her footsteps. Katerina walks her familiar path to the 3 snares she set days ago. The first is empty. The second is empty. The third holds a frozen hare, stiff and white. She works the wire free with her mittened hands, the metal cold enough to burn. She fills her bucket with clean snow from an untouched drift and trudges back to the cabin. Inside, the cub greets her with excited chirps, weaving between her legs. Katerina sets down the bucket and hare. She removes her outdoor clothes and takes the hare to her work stump outside. Her knife cuts through the frozen flesh, separating skin from meat with practiced strokes. She brings the cleaned meat inside and cuts a portion into tiny cubes for the cub. She places the raw meat on a wooden plate and sets it down. The cub attacks the meal immediately, her small teeth tearing and pulling. Katerina prepares the rest for herself, cutting strips and adding them to her leftover soup, along with dried peas from a jar. The pot returns to the stove. While dinner cooks, Katerina sits by the window with her knitting. She takes 2 needles and a ball of unraveled wool yarn from her basket. She casts on stitches for a new mitten, looping the yarn around the needle 17 times. Then she begins knitting. The needles click together in steady rhythm. Right needle sliding through the loop, yarn wrapping around, pulling through. Click, wrap, pull. Click, wrap, pull. The cub, full and drowsy, climbs into Katerina's lap. The little tiger circles 3 times and settles down with a deep, rumbling purr. Katerina rests one hand on the warm striped back and continues knitting with the other hand, adapting her rhythm. Twilight comes early. By mid-afternoon, darkness fills the forest. Katerina sets aside her knitting and lights 2 tallow candles. She uses a burning twig from the stove, touching it to each wick until the flames catch and grow. She eats her stew straight from the pot, standing at the stove, each spoonful rich with meat and vegetables. Evening chores begin. Katerina pours warm water into her washing basin and adds sand from a small box. She scrubs her bowl and spoon, the sand making a gritty scraping sound against the ceramic and wood. She rinses everything with clean water and sets it to dry on a cloth. She banks the fire, arranging the logs so they will burn through the night without overfeeding the flames. She changes into her nightdress, hanging her day clothes on wooden pegs. The cub watches from her rag basket, eyes bright and alert, ready to play. Katerina sits on her bed, and the cub pounces immediately, attacking her toes through the blanket. The old woman wiggles her feet, and the cub leaps and bats with her paws. Finally, Katerina lies back against her pillow. The cub climbs onto her chest, circles 3 times, and curls into a ball. The warm weight presses down comfortingly. Katerina strokes the striped fur, her fingers moving in long, slow passes from head to tail. She knows the cub cannot stay forever. Tigers belong to the wild, but tonight, with the wind howling outside and the fire glowing, they are both safe. 2 survivors finding comfort in each other's warmth. The candles burn down. Darkness fills the cabin. Katerina's hand is still on the cub's back. Her breathing deepens into sleep. The cub's purr continues, a steady sound that fills the spaces between the crackling fire and the endless winter wind. If this story touched your heart, please leave a like and subscribe to follow Katerina and her little tiger's journey together. What do you think will happen when the cub grows bigger? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss the next chapter of their incredible bond in the frozen wilderness of Yakutia. Thank you for watching, and stay warm out there.